Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. We're going to take about 30 minutes of your life to deliver some amazing content from accomplished leaders, business owners, to provide you some great Ironman mindsets to help you scale your business, to become a better leader and push yourself out of a comfort zone into something that's going to stretch you. We hope you really enjoy these shows and encourage you to like and share with your friends, your network, family members. Try and get a wider audience and improve our industry. On each show, I'm going to try and pull out one type of Ironman mindset, insight that you could take back to your business. And if you're implementing one insight every single week or all the shows, then it's going to make a dramatic improvement to your business. Super excited as well to share that we're partnering up with Boss Business Management Software, which is the ultimate cloud-based solution providing comprehensive insights and tools to optimize performance. Join the Boss community today and transform your business so you too can say, my boss is working for me. Cheers, everyone. Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. Really excited today to be joined by Kevin McHale. Kevin, really excited you can join the show today. It was great to see you in Denver. I'm so happy that you managed to carve out a little bit of time today to share your story with the audience.
Yeah, well, thank you, Robert. It's always a pleasure to share information with our friends in the landscape community. And, as you mentioned, Denver was a great event, and it was good to see you and the Bruce Wilson team and, quite a few others that I hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah, it's always nice to get some great people in the room together and all catch up. So Kevin, we have a pretty large audience. We have listeners from pretty much all around the world, Australia, even Saudi, the Middle East. Tell everybody a little bit about your background and a little bit about your company, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so McHale Landscape Design was formed, I guess not unlike most landscape companies at an early age. My brother Steve and I, 12 years old, cutting grass in the neighborhood, and kind of developed into, when we got into college, my brother was an art major and I was in forestry, horticulture, kind of a hybrid degree. And both of us went to West Virginia University. So while we were, Steve transferred up there. He was an art major originally, and then he transferred up to landscape architecture. So while we were in college, we decided we were going to commit to forming a landscape company when we graduated. I'm a year older than Steve. And our goal was 100% residential, high end. That's all we wanted to do. So I got out a year prior to Steve and pretty much did everything and anything I could just to get our name out there. So obviously we worked for family and friends in the beginning. But I would, this was back in the day when we didn't have these instant photographs. So I would take pictures of the job sites. This was around 1981. I would take a picture of the home, then I'd measure it, I'd draw it up, and I'd mail it, snail mail to my brother, who was in the West Virginia University design studio for landscape architecture. He would draw it up, he'd mail it back to me, and then I'd go meet the client, sell the project, and then on the weekends, Steve would come home, we'd get a couple of buddies, and we'd do the job. And that was kind of how it all started. And we're very happy to say that, the first employee that we ever had is currently with us, and he's our chief operating officer, and he runs our Virginia design build group, and actually pretty much design build throughout the company. So it's the early days are, the memories of that are still with us because we've all worked together for 44 years now, I guess, 43 years. So
that's awesome. I love that story, how you're taking pictures and you're mailing back and forward. And obviously that's obviously before all this technology and email and all that kind of stuff. That's an awesome story.
And we're truly a family business today, which we'll talk about at some point, I'm sure. But, back in the early days, our mother was our administrative assistant and our dad was our bookkeeper. He was a banker. From day one, it was very family oriented business, as it is today, because today there's 10 McHales working in the company. So my brother has 3 adult children. I have 3 adult children. My wife doesn't work in the business daily, but she's still involved a little bit. And my brother's wife is our CFO. So it's continued that that pattern of a family business. And we also consider all of our key employees very much a part of our family too. So we have a lot of long-term employees. So we're very fortunate in that way.
No, that's awesome. I just, to basically see, I suppose, when you get a chance to reflect, or maybe it's around your Thanksgiving dinner table and look to, all the opportunities you've provided for your family. I mean, it must be nice. It gives you a lot of satisfaction there.
It does, and our families are close. All the cousins are close. We do vacations and holidays together. Every now and then somebody will have to say, okay, that's enough business talk. But it's usually pretty lighthearted and good conversation. And but it's hard to not talk about business.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
When the family gets together, but we do our best to limit it.
That's awesome. So, Kevin, give in terms of you've gave me some stories from back at the beginning. For a sense of the growth you've had, over those many years. What do things look like now for the company in terms of, either sharing revenue, sharing branches, or number of employees, whatever you feel comfortable sharing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can give you kind of a quick overview. So we're about 360. Sometimes we'll gravitate a little closer to 400 employees. We have 7 locations. They're not all full branches. We have 2 design studios and then 3 full branches and a satellite office and a farm nursery. So each location has its own identity and its own structure in terms of org chart. Just under 50 million in revenue a year. 100% design build. What we're really proud of lately is we've been able to, grow the maintenance side of things pretty quickly. I can talk about the growth in a minute, but early on, we're just design build guys. My brother and I and our staff, we wanted to build stuff. We were not into maintenance. We always thought maintenance was for other people. But we started to get, some concerns from our clients that, here you just did this nice big design build job. Who's going to take care of it? They kind of felt that we were abandoning them. So we tried maintenance once early on. I would say it was probably 25, 30 years ago, I guess, 30 years ago. And we made a mess out of it. We didn't have the right people. We didn't have the right training. We didn't have the right equipment. And we really didn't have the passion for it. And so we did it for a year. And really all we did was disappoint a lot of clients. So after that first year of trying maintenance, we said, look, we're just not set up to do this. We're not going to do maintenance right now. So 3 or 4 years passed, and we've got getting more and more feedback from our clients that, look, you guys really have to come up with a plan to help us take care of this property that you just developed for us. So we were a little smarter. We're slow learners, but as we got older, we started to learn things a little bit quicker. And we certainly learned from others. Peer groups were a great source for us to learn how people built their maintenance side of their business. So we went at it differently. We recruited some people that did have a passion for maintenance, that did have the skill set, did have the knowledge. And then we went about it slowly and we recruited that way and we built it. So we're happy to say now that after 20 years, we're almost 50% maintenance and 50%
that's
design
great.
build.
Nice job.
That's a big accomplishment for us because we've always been the design build guys, But now our design build staff, our sales and designers, they're selling maintenance at the very first meeting. They're talking about maintenance before a design is even developed. And part of that goes to our philosophy of being single source to the client. We want to be able to handle any needs that the client has outside the threshold of the door of the home. That also has kind of parlayed into developing in-house carpentry and masonry crews as a part of our design build business. And it creates a diversity of service for us, so we get into some pretty complicated stuff. We run I think it's about 13 masonry crews, and they direct report. And then we have, I think, 5 carpentry crews that will direct report. We have our own budgets for each type of work: landscape, masonry, maintenance, and carpentry. They're managed more like those businesses are managed in that industry. We don't expect a carpenter to stop what he's doing and plant an azalea. And we don't expect a landscape technician to get up and help somebody trim out, a ceiling. So we kind of specialize everybody, use the people that are professionals for that particular trade or that particular type of business. So that's kind of how it's parlayed. So we get into doing some interesting things. We talked about this story before. We renovate kitchens. We've actually built a few homes. We do a lot of screen porches and decks and small additions and a lot of pool houses. And some of these pool houses, they're 2-story, they become living quarters. So it's like building a house. But it's been interesting along the way. One of our very valued clients, long-term client, we did a lot of carpentry, architectural woodwork on the outside with architecturally detailed fences, pergolas, and a deck. And they said, your carpenters are really good. Would you guys consider doing our kitchen? So we said, well, sure, and we have a construction division manager that has home building experience, and she's very talented. She's a great designer, really understands taking a client's vision and turning it into a reality. So our team met with the client, and we're in the middle of doing the design, and they liked the ideas. Well, the client, a couple of days later, is playing tennis with one of her friends, and she said, I hear you're redoing your kitchen at your home. Who are you going to use? The client said, well, I'm going to use McHale Landscape Design. And her friend said, well, why would you use a landscape company to do your kitchen? And she says, well, we have a great relationship with them, and they're a very talented company. She says, well, isn't that like, breaking your ankle and going to a gynecologist? And our client said, no, not at all. Gail can do this work. So fast forward 6 months later, we finished the job. Client's very happy. Job went very well. And our client sees her friend again at the country club. And she says, oh, did you ever do your kitchen? Who did it? And how did it turn out? And she looked up and she said, my gynecologist did it. And it worked out really, really well.
So, I love that.
So we have a good time with the clients, and our clients, on the residential side, it's a much more personal level, and it's very emotional. So you become friendly with the clients. You kind of become part of their lives, because in reality, what we're doing is, whether it's an outdoor project, indoor, whatever it is, it's being done with the intention of improving their lives. That's why these people want to do these projects. We certainly saw back after 9/11 a huge increase where everybody wanted Disneyland in their backyard for their family. And that really hasn't stopped. People are certainly back to traveling and doing things with their family, vacation-wise. But the desire to still have a backyard that you can entertain and live in is still a very hot item for us in residential design build. Some of the trends change over years, but it's still very important to people.
No, I agree 100%. And I think, one of this was the messages I heard out of this is, having that real deep, trusted relationship with your client. I do a lot of account management training, and we talk about the different tiers of relationship with your client. And if you're up at that 4 or 5, then you're the personal stories. You're having some of those intimate discussions, and that's the sort of level most companies strive to achieve. And I think most companies would probably, if they heard kitchens and designs and installation, they probably run a mile. But you looked at the skill set of your team. You've obviously built a great team of all self-performing masters at their trade, and the fact that you were able to embrace that project and do an amazing job. And I'm sure that again helps to build your reputation, and I'm sure that's talked about in the country club and other places.
Yeah, no doubt. Brand and your reputation is so important, particularly in residential. We get so many referrals from cocktail parties. So if we do work for one home on the street, it's very likely we're going to do at least 2 more homes on that same street. And it comes from the cocktail party or the T-ball game on a Saturday, or maybe it's their church, whatever it is. Things spread pretty quickly, especially if you do a good job. I guess sometimes they spread even quicker if you do a bad job.
Yes, true. Spreads worse quicker.
That's right. But you mentioned the word trust with the clients. And that, I think, is a huge part of our business, not only internally, where we trust each other, our fellow coworkers, and we trust each other's decisions and judgments. And I think we have a lot of people with integrity, but it also goes a long way with our client base when they trust us. It's an interesting story. Years ago, I was still active in selling work and designing and running some projects. And we had a client who we just connected, the husband and wife. We became very friendly with each other. They actually took my wife and I out to dinner a few times. But we were talking one day and they said, yeah, we're having this big party tomorrow. We just want to make sure you guys are done and everything is in great shape. So we said, it'll be done. We're in good shape. So we finished up that Friday around noon, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. The skies opened up and a monsoon came. And it washed out a bunch of sod that we had just laid, and it just created a big mess. Their basement drain clogged up. They had water in the house, and it was just a fiasco. So they called us and said, look, we need some help. We've got this party tomorrow. What can you guys do? So I think at the time we had maybe 25 employees in the company. So we took half of them over there on Saturday morning. And we got everything cleaned up, and they were very appreciative. And then we just started talking for a few minutes, and they said, we'd like to see if you'd go to lunch with us on Monday. And I said, well, I really can't. I said, we have our credit line due at our bank, and I need to have a meeting with a couple of people to see if we can extend it because we just don't have the money right now. So the client looked at me and he said, well, how much do you have to pay on the credit line? I said, it's $35,000. He turns around and walks away and he comes back and he hands me a check for $35,000. And he said, use this to pay your credit line and we'll count it towards the next job you do for us in the spring. And, that right there speaks about the level of trust and how important it is with your clients. And we never forgot that. And he never forgot it either. And we've since then have done 3 other projects for them from houses that they've moved to. So this trust factor, I think there's nothing more important than that, I think, in the residential relationship between the design build contractor and the client, and also on the maintenance side. There's a lot of pressure put on our maintenance staff when a client has an event. We'd have a lot of clients that'll have a wedding at their home or, some type of family big event, and they want everything perfect. We take it as a compliment and we take it seriously when they ask us to be, the point person to make sure this event goes perfectly and that the site is in pristine condition and that everything is taken care of. So trust is huge. And I think it's a really big part of how we've been able to grow our business.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I just got goosebumps listening to that story about the line of credit. I mean, that's just an amazing story. And, I often talk about the fact that, yes, landscaping is almost a given, but really we're people managers. And what I mean by that is, we've got 2 sets of people. We've got our clients and we've got to build that trust, but we also have employees, and to have the right type of employees on your team to be able to, as Bruce says, look through the eyes of the customer, to understand, what they're going through, to make their jobs easier. Because you're right. I mean, some of those events, whether it be a wedding or some other event, might be the event of the decade or event of the year. So you got to be able to deliver, and the only way you can deliver is by having the right people in your team. So you must have done a great job of bringing in the right people as you've grown through the years to almost help to fulfill not only the growth, but the brand and the reputation.
Absolutely. We're all in the people business. We can be the best horticulturalist or the best designer, the best carpenter, the best mason, whatever it may be. But we're in the people business at the end of the day. We've always had the approach in recruiting and hiring people is to try to find out who the person is. The skill set, we kind of feel we can teach a lot of that. We have carpenters that have been with us 20 years that came to us when they were 18, 19 years old, and they've learned, and now they are, they're our top crews. But the reason that we hired them is because we felt that they had integrity and that they had the ability to learn. So often we're hiring people based on who they are as a person and the fact that we think they'll be a good investment. We all know how difficult it is to recruit in our industry right now. the pool of qualified people is shrinking, and programs across the country and colleges, those are shrinking. Right here where we are in the Washington, D.C. market, University of Maryland was our biggest pull for students, interns, and then becoming full-time employees. They don't even have the program anymore. The program was disbanded about 5 years ago. They still have landscape architecture, but they don't have landscape contracting. So, it kind of pushes us to look outside of our industry. So we hire and interview people that have business degrees. But if we feel that they have integrity and they have a willingness to learn, they have some passion about what the landscape industry is about, then we're ready to invest in them.
I had the same philosophy with, towards the end of my business before I sold it was, it's great to have people with industry experience, but I'd rather, as the labor pool shrunk, I'd rather have people with integrity that were good with our clients. We had so much depth and knowledge within our company. It was relatively easy to train them and develop them with some of the hard knowledge. As you continue your growth phase, we talked about at the beginning how you were using photographs and mail back and forward, but obviously technology has become more, I suppose, relevant, especially with our future growth. What does that look like in terms of looking towards technology and the type of people that you're beginning to, bring onto your team?
Yeah, so it's interesting. My brother and I, we're both in our mid-60s now, so we are not what you would consider technology wizards. We do embrace it. And we count and depend on some of our younger staff that do understand it, and it's almost second nature for them to help us integrate and bring in technology to help the company function better. A few years ago, 4 years ago, I think, we hired a young man who had an MBA in finance, and we gave him the title of Director of Modernization. And the whole point was for him to help us and to update our systems by use of technology. So he's done a really good job. We've implemented quite a few things just in the last 3 or 4 years, and there's a lot more things on the table that we're going to consider. So I think, in the landscape industry, we're known for being traditional type people, and certainly the industry is aging. There's a lot of guys out there like me, but we absolutely embrace technology and realize it's going to be an important part of our future. We're already using some components of AI and things that we do. We're still waiting to see how, some of the robotics are really how effective they're going to be in our industry before we jump in. But it's around us, and we're aware of it. We have some of our folks in maintenance going to look at examples that are open for us to come and view and observe. So we're involved in it, and I think the biggest thing is that we're open to seeing how it can help our business.
What you talked about things already being implemented. You've got things potentially coming down the pipeline. What are some of the criteria you look at in terms of evaluating what's your next move in terms of either investment or technology, or is it around the people part? Is it becoming more efficient? What's some of your criteria?
For us, the last 5 years, acquisitions has been really at the forefront for us. And we've done 4 now, and I think 5 or 6 years. And one of the reasons, why it's important, and it's a big part of us, is part of our strategy, is because that's one of the ways that obviously we bring in a book of business with revenue. It gives us further density in our routing, and our market share grows. But it also brings us these landscape professionals that are so hard to find. So for us, that's one of our biggest investments, is the acquisition side. And we see that very much as a part of our future. And the fact that what we have done so far has been pretty successful. From a growth perspective, in the last 7 years, we've grown 123%. And, 40% of that is M&A, and then the other 83% is organic. So by combining those two, it's really become a very combined tool that we're using. And part of that too is that the acquisitions that we're doing are smaller, owner-operator type companies, and they're not very involved in technology. So it's helping them as well, So it's bringing them in. Their clients are benefiting from it. All the resources that we have as a larger company. So I think combining all of this together is really what we see as being a big part of our future with technology, acquisitions, and bringing in these landscape professionals. That combination is what we see as the future for us.
As you continue your growth, what does the company look like in 5 years? You talked about acquisitions combined with some organic growth. I mean, do you target specific areas, or do you just put your feelers out to see who might be considering some type of an exit, and that directs your growth? There's a little bit combination of both.
Yeah, it's interesting. Of the acquisitions that we've done, all 4 companies came to us. We weren't soliciting, and we're still not really soliciting. So there's several companies that we're talking to right now, and it's the same thing. They called us, because in our market, as I think is true in the landscape industry in general, most of us are pretty transparent with each other. We share a lot of information. So in our market, our landscape association, our local Washington, D.C. area, it's always been a very good network of people. We're competitors, but at the same time, we're friends, and we share information. So I think a lot of this idea of us, McHale Landscape Design, being an exit strategy for other companies, it is kind of spread around a little bit in our community. And we're going to go slow with it. We're going to make sure that, again, we go back to this, are the people a fit with our company? And that's kind of been at the forefront of the decisions we make on whether we want to acquire a company or whether we want to engage in discussions with them. And there are some companies that very quickly we realized we were not a cultural fit.
Right.
And we just said, thank you, but no thank you. Others, it's like you meet them in a 2-hour meeting and you see how aligned their company is with our company values. And then you continue the conversations.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, you're right. I mean, that merging of cultures is probably one of the most, the key things with a successful merger of companies. I know each situation varies, but in terms of the sellers or potential sellers, what does that conversation look like? Because sometimes are they people just that are burnt out? They've gone through, 9/11, they've gone through 2008 to 11, they've gone through COVID, and they're just exhausted, they're just tired. But there's, if you put them in the right situation where perhaps they're back to something they're truly passionate about again, whether it be the design piece or selling or something, sometimes they get reinvigorated. What have you seen out there with some of your discussions?
Yeah, we have seen that. These smaller companies, owner-operators that have to do everything. And, and my hat's off to them, because I remember that clearly in the first few years of our business where, you're trying to sell a job, you're trying to order material, you're trying to get payroll done, and then, you're making sure your licenses are up to date. You're just doing so many things that cross over in sales to admin to finance. And I think the benefit for us is that when these companies come in, we take all that off their plate and they can go back to being a landscaper. And that's what they want to do. So it's worked out very well for us, where these owners feel a huge burden has been lifted off to them, and they're in a system now that they can be successful and they don't have risk. So it's really, I think, reinvigorating for a lot of these owners. And our goal always, we don't change their name. We don't change their culture. We don't get rid of any people. What we do is just try to show them that it's a benefit to them to work in our systems. And we bring a lot of resources to them and to their client base. Part of our strategy with these acquisitions is buying small maintenance companies, and then we can market our design build resources to their client base. And that's worked out very well, because their clients didn't have those resources with these smaller companies, but now they do. And one of the interesting things, and again, I give a lot of credit to smaller companies and their commitment to being good business people. We haven't found pricing structures to be a problem. They're very compatible. And that was always one of our concerns at Smaller companies are going to be much, much less than we are on the price to the client. And they're not.
Couple more questions and then I'll let you go, Kevin. You touched on this earlier. You've got, lots of family members in the business. You continue to have this, this tremendous growth. You hear good and bad stories about your family and transitions. You've got an ongoing story right now that Murdoch with the Fox News and that whole media empire they built. And what have those types of discussions been through? Have you had people helping you through those discussions? Because it can be pretty dicey.
I mean, that's a really good question because we floundered for the last 3 years. My brother and I would have meetings. We'd have meetings with our wives. We'd talk with our kids. We'd talk with our key employees. And we weren't going anywhere because nobody really, first off, we didn't have the experience or the knowledge of how do you handle this? How do you do this process? So we started networking, and through a lot of different people that we knew, we ended up finding out about a family business consultant. And all this person does is counsel and strategize with family businesses on how to structure it, how to look into the future, all the different things to consider. So that's where we are right now. We're right smack in the middle of it. And what's really good about it, this particular person, his background is psychology and finance. So they understand people and they understand a P&L. And
a good mix.
Yeah. So the conversations are very real. And having somebody in that position can say something to me or to my brother that if we said it to each other, we might offend one another. And this person can do that. They're a professional. They know how to talk and
right.
They know how to communicate and they know how to say what needs to be said. So we are smack in the middle of it. We haven't had any family fights. Everyone's been pretty receptive to it. But everybody has heard something that they didn't want to hear. The whole family, everyone has. And it's kind of neat, because we laugh about it now, but we're right in the middle of that process. And then, for us being a family business, this person also brings in, the idea of estate planning and all the things that you need to do. So they get into some of the technical aspects as well. So, as far as the future goes, we haven't gotten far enough along to say this is what the structure will be, but we feel like we're on a really good path. And we're thinking that it's a 2 to 3 year plan to really figure this out, how it's going to go. But right now we're moving forward, and that's the best part about it.
I love that. I'm hopefully continue. Good luck with those discussions. I think that's awesome. Glad you're having that. A lot of people will ignore it. Till it's too late. Final question, Kevin. If people want to get either in touch with you, or maybe they want to find out about your business, or maybe there's an opportunity, maybe they're pretty close and they want to explore, some type of opportunity that might exist. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you or your company?
Yeah. So on our website, we have a contact us info, and they could certainly go that route and it'll get to me. I know that NALP and back in the days of ALCO, we had the Trailblazer program, and I never formally did it, but I've always enjoyed talking to people about their businesses and sharing our experiences as to whether that can help them or not. I don't know, but it's always been a part of our company. We've had people come and visit us. Depending on what their interest is and what they're looking to do, I connect them with certain people in our company and take them on field trips, talk about our structure, how we do things. So we've had people do that with us. That's how we learned a lot. I feel that in our market here, we've been exposed to a lot of really good landscape companies over the last 40 years, and we've taken bits and pieces from all of them and kind of hybridized it into what McHale Landscape Design is. And so we're happy to share what we've learned with anybody. And you can, get that through our website, the contact information. Just please forward this to Kevin McHale and they'll get it to us. And I'd be happy to have conversations.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, I know you're a busy person, but I really I really appreciate the time and the stories you've shared today. Appreciate you've everything done you've towards the building a great industry and your service to the industry. So I really do appreciate everything, and I look forward to staying in touch with you, Kevin.
Yeah, you too, Robert. Thank you for the invitation. I enjoyed the conversation very much.
Cool. Okay, thanks again. Have a great day, Kevin.
You too. Take care.
Hopefully that was pure dead brilliant for you today, and you got some great Ironman mindset takeaways for your business or your leadership role. This is Robert Clickybeard. Love to get you, your friends, your employees to join us in our future journey. So please subscribe to your various podcast channels. Visit our website, commerciallandscaper.com or wilson-360.com. You could check out our digital courses. You could check out peer groups, coaching, my book, Ironman Mindset for Entrepreneurs. And we just want you to have a pure, dead, brilliant day. And finally, thanks again to Boss Business Management Software, which is the ultimate cloud-based solution providing comprehensive insights and tools to optimize performance. Join the Boss community today and transform your business so you too can say, my boss is working for me. Cheers, everyone.